Success shouldn't feel this exhausting. If you're winning on paper, but burning out behind the scenes, you aren't failing. You're stuck in a psychological bottleneck called a hurdle of stop. I've been there. On the outside, things look great, but I was secretly burning out, convinced I was just lucky and waiting to be exposed as a fraud. I realized I didn't have a business problem. I had a mindset block. Whether it's imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or fear or failure, these aren't just feelings. They are growth bottlenecks. Identify your specific hurdle and get one immediate action step to regain your momentum today. Go to tuepodcast.net/quiz. That's tuepodcast.net/quiz to take the 3-minute assessment and get your report now. This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
And talking about failure, I don't know, in some communities, in some groups that I work with, they tend to change the word to say like, okay, this is not failure, we don't call it failure, it's another step. It's at the end, it's failure. Like, you need to admit that you're failing at some point. You want to fail. You want to see that failure if it happens. You need to learn it. But most of us try to limit it or hide it or say that, okay, this is a step. Like, I need to admit that we failed, because I've been failing for 10 years when I started. I didn't admit that it's failure. And when I started to shift, to try to change and make it another difference in another way, I realized that I've been holding my brain, locking my brain somehow. And I changed that only by talking to more people, traveling and reading books in a way that you allow your brain to understand more.
Are you ready to unlock your entrepreneur potential? Are you ready to break free from all the barriers holding you back? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, your first step in getting across the start line. Let's get across that start line together, right here, right now, on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Salutations, School Believers, and we are here again with another amazing entrepreneur. Today we're here with Jack. Hey, Jack, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, get across the start line. Super appreciate you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. Awesome. So what I'd like to do here is right here, very front, is give you kind of a semi-serious question to ask you. Okay. You ready?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Here we go. Are you a school believer?
Yes.
Good enough. Yay. We'll take it. Thanks, Jax. Thanks for being a school believer. Super appreciate you. All right. So, Jack, what I want to do here right up front is get an idea of who you are, what your entrepreneur adventure is, and how you got across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure.
Yeah, definitely the entrepreneurial journey is very long. So I'm going to just say the highlights that how did I started. I started when I graduated. I felt like I was already having some couple of jobs just to have my pocket money, and then I realized something, that I do not fit into the employment field. Although I continued this journey and I got a very good job, and it was an amazing job working remotely in 2010. There was no remote work by that time, but I had this opportunity. And I was able to travel and do whatever I want. But at the same time, that feeling was still there, that I do not fit in this rigid somehow structure or hierarchy. So I decided to start my first venture in 2011. And I'm in digital technology. So I started my first digital agency. It was by that time, Facebook was like 3 years old, and mobile websites and so on. So it was something new that I was introducing to the corporate field. And I found an opportunity. At the same time, I found something really interesting, that with entrepreneurship, you need to keep working 24/7 every day on yourself before working on the venture. So I like this. But the funny thing is that my first dream job was to be a doctor. So I decided not to be a doctor because, like many people told me, like it would be heavy. You need to keep studying for 10 years, 12 years. And I found that entrepreneurship was much harder than that because you need to keep updating yourself and there's no enough resources. It was new by that time. And then I started another venture and another venture. I became addicted to starting ventures from scratch. And this is something that I do always. Whenever I start a new venture, I don't invest money in it. I started from zero as if I'm just starting. So that was really a passionate thing to do. Of course, with all the challenges in the region, I'm working mainly in the Middle East most of my time. So it's always challenges. So I love these challenges. I love to find smart ways to move forward. So yeah, mainly this is it.
That's awesome. I love it. You know, not all of us are built for a 9 to 5 job, right? Some of us, there's some people that are
Yeah,
okay with
exactly.
it and they're going to go ahead and go along with it. That's good for them, but not for guys like us. We want to kind of be in charge of our own time and be able to have the freedom to do what we want when we want, even though 9 times out of 10 what we're actually doing is working. But and do it, but at least it's doing something that we love as people, as who we are, as our authentic selves. Yeah, to you on the outside, it looks like we're working constantly nonstop. But in the inside, in our heads and in our minds, it's like, I love to do this so much. I don't want to stop working because this is exactly where I want to be. And so I love that for most people. Also, I wanted to hear a little bit more about the digital agency that you're working right now. What exactly are you doing right now? I know you said you're working in the Middle East, and that's awesome. But can you give me a little more of an idea of what you're actually doing?
Yeah. So the first agency that I started was creative agency doing all the digital solutions for businesses, mainly for startups, for solopreneurs, launching websites, e-commerce websites, making all the dashboard, the intelligence, like business intelligence that every business needs to scale fast and start as well. But 5 years ago, I started another agency, which is what I live now every day to push forward. It's called Brain Digits. And Brain Digits started in first, I registered Brain Digits in the US in Delaware. I was there for a couple of months and I said, like, okay, yes, let's start something here. And then when the artificial intelligence launched, Brain Digits was all about emerging technologies. And the AI started to boom in 2022 a little bit. I found some sparkle. So I moved the company, the headquarters to Dubai, and started the company there. And then we scaled into Abu Dhabi. The thing is that in this region, everywhere, it's not like in the States, wherever you need to scale, you can scale easily. You have all the frameworks. And the GCC, you need to kind of register your company in not every country, but even every Emirates. So the more you scale, they ask you for the legal registration and so on. So we started scaling, and now in Saudi Arabia as well. Personally, I'm from Beirut, Lebanon, so I'm kind of jumping between Jordan, GCC, and Lebanon and Egypt. A couple of work in Europe and Australia and the States, but most of the work is happening here with the governments investing a lot in artificial intelligence. So my daily work is to design new programs for AI enablement for companies and organizations, with including all the emerging technologies, like making things fun and at the same time really futuristic. Like in hospitals, we do integrate the virtual reality and AI together to train the staff on virtual scenarios, on real scenarios, but built virtually. In the banking and government, public transportation, stuff that are related to the people, we love that. This is something that I do every day to create solutions using technology. This is what we do at Brain Digits. And I love it because it's somehow combining my human technology business aspects together and keep my entrepreneurship spirit really high.
Ah, love it. That's fantastic. Being able to use AI as a tool more than anything else has been probably one of the biggest accomplishments we've had as humans, as who we are. We just got to make sure that we're using the AI for the right things and using it as a tool, not a replacement for humans, right? I mean, what do you think? I know that's kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people, but what is your outlook on that?
Yeah, exactly. There's an example that I always say, and also mention a couple of TED speeches and university most of the time, because this is where this ethical conversation is happening. I go back to the first invention that the human being had, which is fire. And we're having the same pattern. So we invented fire for something good, to improve something, to solve a problem, maybe as an evolution of our thinking. And then suddenly someone decided to burn down a whole village with the same fire that we invented for as a solution, right? So now it's happening again, but with more power, because humanity is more powerful today. Human beings are more powerful today with their thinking and the tools that they can do. The intention, maybe it's the same. The same person who wants to do good and do bad. I think it's the same feeling as emotions. But as the technical part of it is becoming really advanced. So now you can destroy maybe a whole country with one virus, maybe to shut down a whole, and we've seen it. You can shut down a whole industry with just a virus. So this is the difference, and I think the challenge is there forever. Like who use things for a good in a good way, and who do it in a bad way, or to cause harm and to have personal benefit only. I believe that today AI needs more understanding than the technical perspective. We need to go beyond to find why do we exist again as human beings? What do we need to do? Now we have more power. What we can do with that power? What are our problems? We need to rethink our problems and our solutions, because we're rethinking all industries now. And this is what I love. And my PhD research currently is about the future of nations with these emerging technologies. Because I don't believe that the next generation would just, do business as usual and just do things as we know it. They will reinvent many ideas. So it's kind of weird to put AI today as just one technical solution that is affecting people jobs and doing harm to some people. It's more like a reinvention, same like we faced the internet in the beginning. How did we face internet? It was the same, I think, moving the whole information that we know as we know it into an web browser 24/7 available. And now we move the thinking to that phase. It's not information now. We for the first time in history, thinking is happening outside our brain. So that's something to reconsider again.
Absolutely. It's kind of like having a second brain, right? You have your brain, and then you have
Exactly.
the
And
brain
multiple
of...
brains at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it all works out. It helps us along, especially if you need to come up with ideas and you're like stuck. At least you have something else that you can go to with an idea, and then maybe get a tidbit of information that kind of breaks through that barrier that you have in your head, and you never would have had that if you didn't have that second brain, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like someone to or something to validate your ideas, with keeping the risk of sometimes if we don't push our brain, we don't see our real self, we could end up being all the same, having the same reference also is a problem. But this is where we encourage in schools and universities and with parents, we encourage the way that you need to bring the critical thinking and the the values, purpose-driven leadership. You need to empower these skills. So I think the human skills, or what we call soft skills, is what we need to empower today more than the technical skills, because you can do anything just with a click. We can make a cinematic movie, or a song now while we speak. We can just do that. So if you can do that, what would you do? This is the question. What would you do to make an impact? What would you do to make a difference? And this is how I ask most of the time students, because it's scary to just leave them to just talking to AI and tell them what to do.
Yeah, we need to take that information and do something with it more than anything else. It's nice to have the
Exactly.
information, to know the information, but it's what we do with that information that makes the biggest difference and makes the biggest impacts.
Oh yes, yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to backtrack just a little bit. And you told me earlier that you like to bootstrap. You like to bootstrap new business and things like that. So if you were to have somebody that says, "Hey, how did you start your businesses?" And I want to start a business too, but I need to bootstrap it. Like I need to have my own money. So can you give me just like a little bit of an example of how we can actually bootstrap our own business?
Yeah. This is actually an advice that I'll always give to entrepreneurs, to aspiring entrepreneurs. And most importantly, the number of entrepreneurs that I talk to, and they made it to the top. They got big like series of funds and so on. The only when they face a problem, a big problem that they like almost shutting down their business, they all tell me whenever I talk about bootstrapping, they tell me we wish we went that way, not raising funds immediately. Not because of the fund, but because what you can learn in that journey, not about yourself only, about your venture. Where can you be and what it can do? Because I don't believe it's just launching a business is about understanding what you're doing. It's being ready to allow that business, allow that venture, allow that idea to take you to the maximum. Because imagine now in 1,000 years, if you fast forward to the future, if you can imagine, we won't be talking about the same problems today. It would be like something really old, right? So we have that potential to fast forward. The only thing that is limiting us, it's not technical, it's not what we have today, it's our brain, how far we can think. And I think evolution is happening with that way. You can see something in the movies, someone decided to imagine something and created a movie out of it. And then suddenly we see it reality after a couple of, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 years. And it's happening. We've seen AI in movies before, like the generative AI that we have today and the agentic AI that we have today. We imagined that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe. So bootstrapping makes this more possible to find out what are your possibilities, what are your limitations. But if you just raise funds, it's actually you're staying around that idea and then just bringing funds to make it happen. With bootstrapping, you keep evolving, you keep growing. And by the way, it was last year when the banking crisis that happened in Lebanon, and I was talking to one successful venture startup in Lebanon, and we were in a talk in front of other entrepreneurs, and they were asking me about this. I told them why, and then the guy who their venture raised $5 million in just a couple of years, and then they lost those $5 million with a crisis. I told him, like, can I ask you what would you do when you go back in time? He said, I would take your advice and start bootstrapping because I would learn every step. I would learn every single step to do it either financially or building my product or whatever, designing my product or whatever I'm doing. I would do it carefully and I would learn from every step. It's very hard, yes, but those steps make you really unbreakable. And this is what I did, by the way. And for me, I got a big benefit from the crisis. I didn't affect my ventures. It's the opposite. I used that crisis because I was going slowly, and at the same time, I was learning from my audience, from the market. I was there. I was not busy managing fundraising and seeing what to do with the funds. And I always invested everything that I got. I reinvested. This is what bootstrapping. It's not just getting money and burn that money, right? It's to know where to put that money, and you get more value with that fund because you earned it very hard.
Yeah, you have kind of a higher appreciation for it if you like earned it yourself than getting like somebody that says, here's a bunch of money, just make sure you cut me in on a deal or something like that. Being able to have that freedom of saying, hey, this is my money, I made this myself, let's invest this in myself and in my business and see where it takes us. I like not having to be dependent on somebody else's generosity or income or something like that, because if they go down, then I go down, right? Because I don't have that money anymore.
True.
You don't have to worry about that when you bootstrap, because this is your money that you've made, that you've invested in yourself. So we want to kind of keep that in mind as we're going along.
Yeah, exactly. With one note that at some point you need fund to scale, but you need to know when to get that fund. You need to get it from a way where, okay, now I have everything ready. I have the plan. This is what we need to do. And I don't believe in the first 10 years someone should get that amount of funds. At least talking from a personal perspective, like what happens if you get that fund earlier? What happens in your life? Like it's better to go and get a job if you're putting your all your journey, all your profile under that pressure of being an employee again. Because when you get fund, you're an employee now. You're a full-time employee. You need to work 24/7 to make sure that your share is high, to make sure that the investor is happy, and you're not working for everyone, you know. But if it's you bootstrapping and building the team and working on your leadership style, improving your character, how you adapt to things, I'm sure that any fund you get later on, it would be just easy to get, easy to improve, easy to scale. You don't feel that, you know, imposter syndrome when you get and you need to prove that you're doing what you're having what it takes. I rejected actually three investors. One of them was a friend, and I opened this conversation with him, and he told me, like, after 20 years of doing business, I learned a lot from just this sentence. I wish I knew that. You think that you're not an employee, but at the end you're an employee. You only become an owner when you can leave that job and still it can grow, right? Otherwise, you're an employee. You're self-employed. You're a freelancer. You're self-employed.
That's right too. And when you
Yeah.
do have a 9 to 5 job, how secure really is it? I mean, if you think about it too, because you've got to impress the one person that could either keep you or fire you. And you have everything invested in that one person that can make that decision. How secure really is that, right? But if you have your own business and you're bootstrapping your own business, there's only one person that's accountable, and that's you, to you.
Exactly.
Right? And I don't think you're going to fire yourself. So, you know, we'll just see how that goes.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, about security. I mean, what is security? I mean, we've seen, like, especially now, the economic crisis happening. No position is safe. No person is secure from the layoffs that are happening, from the evolution that is happening now. So I think we kind of try to hide from the reality that we are responsible. No matter what we do, we are responsible of our life. We are accountable of our lives, not someone else. When we go and get the job, we feel like, okay, that part of that responsibility is now my boss' responsibility or the company responsibility. It's their duty, you know, to take care of ourselves. It's the duty of the government to take care of economy, but it's not. Everyone's taking care of their own job, their own future. So whatever happens, they only find they can find any, you know, excuse to just do whatever they want to do, and you just end up alone. And again, having to scale again, to start and scale and improve yourself. And sometimes this happens in your 60s, 70s, when you don't want to do that. So it's better to have it early. Even if you have a job, I always ask people, employees, senior employees, try to start a venture, even a small one that you work from your home, because it's not about that business. It's about you discovering, exploring yourself very early, so you can face whatever problems you might face.
I think that's why it's so important for us to teach the young people how to actually do that. So, I mean, they have the time to be able to do that, to how to start a business and how to get at least the basics of how to run even just maybe just a little bit of an adventure so they can have that.
Exactly, yes. And this is what's happening in most of the universities, that we encourage this, because at the university, you're just teaching them the same system. You get a degree, and then you can try to find a job. You wish to have some kind of good job when you're starting, but like, at the same time, they need to explore themselves. And I think the entrepreneurship, the startup hubs that are happening in universities, the entrepreneurship and innovation hubs that are in some universities, hopefully in schools as well, will make people, because I meet those students, those who are involved in such projects, making a startups, even if I really believe that idea is not so good, or that startup will fail in the beginning, or will never see the light, but at the same time, I still encourage them, just do it. It's about the journey. You will learn, and eventually, you know, even the big startups today, I mean, the big companies today, when they were in the beginning of the startups, maybe they had different ideas, totally different ideas. So they shaped, they evolved, because the leader of that idea and the team working on that idea evolved as well, and tried to do something else, to learn the market, to see the needs, to the business model, and so on. Yeah, and the evolution. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so important to get across the start line, whether you think it's going to fail or anything, like you were saying earlier, at least you start something, because you can't get across the finish line if you don't get across the start line.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about failure, I don't know, in some communities, in some groups that I worked with, they tend to change the word to say like, okay, this is not failure. We don't call it failure. It's another step. It's at the end, it's failure. Like you need to admit that you're failing at some point. You want to fail. You want to see that failure if it happens. You need to learn it. But most of us try to limit it or hide it or say that okay, this is a step. Like I need to admit that we failed because I've been failing for 10 years when I started. I didn't admit that it's failure. And when I started to shift to try to change and make another difference in another way, I realized that I've been holding, my brain, locking my brain somehow. And I changed that only by talking to more people, traveling and reading books in a way that you allow your brain to understand more. But in the beginning, in the first 5, 10 years, maybe, you feel that working hard is the only thing that you need to do. And you just believe in what you believe and they just keep it there. And you don't have the skill of unlearning what you know. So unlearning is also something. I believe it's a skill. But we're not trained that way because our parents from the beginning, they teach us to learn. Don't forget that. It's they train our brain. I think our brain is something really big, but we limit it. And then at school, you tend to learn to memorize things and you need to keep it in your brain. No, I mean, the whole world is evolving very fast. And your brain is like a hard drive. You need to take stuff off some methodologies and some stuff, and you put other stuff in it, and you feel like you're light, when you do that. It was just 3, 4 years ago, and I felt like I'm light again. I can go fast. I can do whatever I want. There's no such things that are holding me. But that wasn't the case in the first 10 years. I mean, I had a lot of stress just staying in the office, hiring people in the office, staying there till late time because I believed in that. Now I barely work a couple of hours a day and I do like 10, 20 times more than what I did before.
Yeah, that's when you know you're working in your zone of genius, is when you're able to be that free with what you're doing, with your thinking, because you feel, like you said, you feel a lot lighter, and we work faster and easier and more efficiently when you're working in that zone. So yeah, absolutely. So we really need to figure a way how to unlearn what we've learned when it comes to things like that too. I mean, when I was in school, if I got an F, it was a failure, and that's it. And you might as well give up at that point. That's what I was taught. But now that I know what I know, there's an acronym for FAIL that I always kind of lean back on. That's first attempt in learning. When we start something new, we have to give ourselves a little bit of leeway to fail, because it's the first time we're doing something new. Of course we're going to fail. It's our first time. So we got to give ourselves some grace and some leeway for failure to be able to learn the thing that we actually need to learn. Because we learn more from failure than we do from success. Success, great, we did it. But what did we learn? If we fail forward. We fail and learn something new, something different that we didn't know before that we could change the next time we do whatever it is. And if we have that failure coming, we could see it coming because we've already had the failure once or twice already. So we know what to do to bypass that failure or bypass that hurdle to get to where we need to go.
Yeah, I love the fail forward concept. Like it should be always there because I don't know what I see a lot of people just failing and freezing. I will not do it again because it's scary. I mean, I didn't know that and so on. I keep hearing all this stuff from especially people who are working in conditions that maybe they are starting their venture, but the conditions are not compatible as they say. That it's not the right time. And I say like it's never the right time. I mean, you're never ready. If you're ready, then you don't need to do it. Like you already do it. You already did it. It's done. You don't need it. If you're not learning something new, then you don't need it. And you need to set your priority. Why you're doing that? Why you're starting? I mean, the more we grow with experience, the more we feel that we need more. Because we know that there's a lot to learn, and this is what we need to, I think, to spread with others. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Appreciate that. All right. So if you came across a brand new entrepreneur that's just getting started, if you came across in a coffee shop, whatever, and you found out they're starting a new business, what's one good solid piece of advice would you give them? What's one solid step you'd have them take?
Oh, there's a lot. Whenever because I'm on LinkedIn most of my time, I post a lot. So whenever I'm traveling or sitting in a coffee shop, I always, see someone who wants to ask that question. And I feel like, okay, there's a lot of important pieces to share. But first, I always love to listen to them, because I don't think there is one piece of advice to any person. Sometimes you find people who are more technical. They build nice stuff, And I was there. I have a development and design background, and in the beginning, I launched in the first 10 years. I launched a lot of ideas. I built them. I didn't just test them. I built them, and it's still there, moving with me, because I don't want to lose all that time. And I believe that someday I'd find someone to just cooperate and do it. But it's not going to happen unless I want to do it. So the first piece of advice is, do not fall in love in your idea in a way that you hold it and you don't make it evolve. Listen, unlearn. Listening, I believe, because most of the time they ask you for an advice. I mean, we tend in the beginning to, when we ask for an advice, we don't listen carefully. We just ask for the advice to, I don't know, to prove an idea that we already have. So deep listening is really important. Why is that person telling me this? It's good to ask why. I mean, you can ask them. I love when they ask me, why would you tell me this advice? Where is it coming from? Because I want to learn, why did you get to that idea? How did you get that idea? How did you get to that, to say that advice? What happened with you? I want to know, what did you do to get out of that problem, or how did you solve that problem? So learning, listening, keep learning every day, talking to more people. I have like 10 entrepreneurial power cards that I share usually with people that I meet. It's more of, by priority, the 10 things that you need to do to empower yourself in that journey. And it starts with personal profile, one, and two is the connections that you make. So, and it's somehow combined. Like, you have LinkedIn now, you have Instagram, you have Facebook. You can keep connecting with people, talking to people, give value, so you can get value back. And then whenever you need help, whenever you need to do something, you have all that community with you. You have your profile. And this is at least what helped me. My profile helped me a lot because I invested a lot of time in it. And connections. Every time I feel stuck, I go back to people. I go back to talking to people, because we kind of, especially now with AI, now we're stuck more in our AI twins, that we ask questions, we validate our ideas, and we feel relief that, okay, AI told me like the idea is great and that's it. No, you need to go to talk to people and be ready to be, to get negative feedbacks, to get the judgment on your idea. It doesn't mean that you take that judgment and keep improving and keep changing your idea, but to find if there is an improvement in that and ask more people to validate it. Yeah, and believe. Do not stop. You always need to believe that you need to keep going. You never stop.
Always connect with people when you can, and wherever you can.
Yes.
You
I
got to
mean, it's number
understand.
one.
Yeah, you got to understand that these people are not competition. I mean, yeah, they're probably in the same niche as you and that kind of thing, but at the same time, you're going to find more people that actually want you to succeed than not. So they're going to be willing to help you with advice. They're going to be willing to help you with a direction and that kind of thing. And it's important that you listen to that and take it within yourself to do it. And find the little gold nuggets that you get from talking to these people and incorporate it into your business or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah,
And what
exactly.
we
I
do,
like the term. I like the term co-opetition, since you mentioned they're not there. Like, we are cooperating to maybe compete on a larger scale. Same like without, like the airlines did, maybe like the online payments and so on. So they scale, they raise awareness together, they do some strategies together. So the market is bigger. So they can easily compete and do not need to compete anymore.
That's right. And that's how we grow. That's how we learn. And that's how we do things. And what we do with the information, whether it be positive or negative, is what really makes us who we are and what we do. Yeah, we can get some negative feedback on something and then just throw our hands up in the air and say, well, this isn't for me then if I'm getting this kind of feedback. Or we could take that information and say, okay, now let me make this little tweak and change, and maybe it's for the better, and see what happens. That's something I'm always saying. I said, let's see what happens next, right, with that change and see how it goes.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. So I have a tradition with all my guests. In the next 6 months, where do you see yourself in your company? Do you have a goal for yourself in the next 6 months?
Yes, and no. Usually, like, I learned it from all the experiences that I had before. And I love something that I did, and by the way, not in entrepreneurship, but in geopolitics, which is about the planning. We say in geopolitics that plans are useless, but planning is everything. So you need to plan. Based on my plans, how I see myself, although I keep always a room for surprises and to go totally the opposite. But I'm trying to position Brain Digits, my company, more, although the brands are becoming more about personal. I'll keep always improving my personal profile. But in the next 6 months, I see myself leading the discussion of AI, especially in government and education and health sector. Somehow with the key players in the region. Hopefully, it's going to happen in the next 6 months. The war in the Middle East, it like tends to slow down all this plan. But yeah, I believe we can make it in the next 6 months.
All right. So what I'd like to do with you, Jack, is I'd like to have another interview with you in 6 months and see where life has taken you, what kind of changes you've had, and see where Brain Digits went to. Is that okay?
Amazing. Yeah. I feel like it's challenged now.
That's right, because you're not just accountable to me. You're accountable to all my school believers out there, so no pressure, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Sure.
Right. All right, Jack, this is your time to shine. This is the time where I want you to advertise yourself. How do we get a hold of you and all that good stuff? Okay, ready, set, go.
Okay, so first, regarding my what I do, I encourage first everyone to get a step and get involved in what is happening, not just with artificial intelligence today, but also in the leadership conversation that is happening, the change of leadership that is happening. And this is where we put Brain Digits as a full partner support for many companies, organizations, and entrepreneurs to work hand in hand with people who believe the same, that we need to be empowered in our leadership skills and our soft skills at the same time with our critical thinking and all the skills that makes us human, and at the same time with the technical skills to build AI agents, AI assistants that are smart enough to fulfill our dreams and to work together in a local and global scale that we can really shine in whatever we do. And if we don't really believe in what we do, we can also build AI systems, AI agents that help us also do. And this is one of the TED Talks that I have. You can search for it, with the AI and the rise of digital twins and the personal leadership, how AI can positively lead us if we train them in whatever we do and the purpose that we have. That's it. Thank you so much.
All right. If you want to get a hold of Jack for anything, I do have information in the show notes where we could take a look at him, all the LinkedIns and all that good stuff. All right. Jack, thank you so much for being on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. This has been an absolute pleasure to be able to talk with you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Same here, man. Thank you so much for this opportunity and looking forward.
All right. All right, School Believers, make sure you stay tuned for the wrap up. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, School Believers, that was Jack. What a fantastic episode. So much to talk about with Jack. He really kind of put it together for us, and I really, really appreciate Jack. I do want to make sure that you caught a couple of things, and we're going to talk about that right now. The most dangerous thing that you could do with failure is just rename it and move on. We can't skip the crucial step of sitting with the failure and listening to what it actually taught us. Failure is the greatest teacher, but it's not going to be able to do anything for us if we don't take advantage of what it taught us and then implement that failure, that teaching moment, into the next thing that we do. We can't just sit on and say, okay, I failed, and then move on. We will never learn anything if we just look past it, rename it, and then just move on to something else. What did we learn from that failure will teach you what to do in your next few steps. And if you do come across that same failure, or you know you're coming across that same failure real soon, you will have the tools that you need to accomplish what you need to do if the problem arises again. So don't miss the opportunity to know what you learned from that failure. Unlearning something we know is not just giving up. Unlearning what we know is giving us room to know what to do next. That way we can clear out from the mental hard drive what we don't need anymore. We learn so many things as we go along, but eventually there are things that we need to unlearn. Things don't serve you anymore. Move past those things and use the tools that you learned from the failure as the thing that you need to learn now. Put it in that mental hard drive. Always make room for the things you need to know. And the only way we can do that is to unlearn the bad habits, unlearn the things that don't serve us, and relearn the things that will serve us. And that will get you across the start line in your entrepreneur adventure. And with that, I want to say thank you, Scuba Believers, for another great episode. Subscribe right now to keep informed about some new things that I got working that are coming up really, really soon. If you can, comment and let me know what you took away from this episode. It's very important for me to know. All right, Scuba Believers, thank you. Bye-bye. And there you have it, future entrepreneurs. We've taken a vital step on the journey across the start line. Remember, every great business begins with a single idea and the courage to pursue it. And you've already showed that courage just by being here today. As we wrap up this episode of the Undiscovered Entrepreneur Get Across the Start Line, I want you to reflect on the path. You have to recognize the 4 hurdles of stop. Is it imposter syndrome holding you back? Is it perfectionism, failure, or fear? Identifying which one affects you the most is the key to unlocking your momentum. But here's the real secret. The hurdles are not in the way, they are the way. Every time you clear one, you're building the exact strength you need for your journey ahead. Until our next episode, keep pushing, keep dreaming, and keep jumping over those hurdles. This is Scoob, your guide across the start line. Remember, your future is waiting. I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today. Hello, Scoob Believers. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many cups of coffee have you had today? 3, 5, 7? And let me guess, you've got a Red Bull in the other hand just in case, right? Yeah, I see you. Now, here's the truth bomb nobody wants to hear. You're not building a business. You're building a caffeine dependency. Listen, I get it. When you're grinding 12, 14, 16-hour days, you're building something from nothing. When you've got payroll to meet, investors to impress, and visions that won't wait. You need fuel. But what if I told you that the fuel that you're using is actually slowing you down? What if the very thing that you think is keeping you sharp is actually making you dull? Enter Rise Coffee. This isn't your grandma's mushroom tea. This isn't some hippie wellness trend. This is science meets performance. And here's what makes Rise different. Less than half the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. You won't miss it. 6 organic powerhouse mushrooms, including cordyceps, what Olympic athletes use, and lion's mane, what Silicon Valley biohackers swear by. Sustained energy that doesn't spike and crash. We're talking smooth, clean power from morning to moonlight. Crystal clear focus without the jitters. Imagine closing the deal with calm, confident mind instead of the caffeine chaos. Gut health and immune support, because what's the point of building an empire if you're too sick to enjoy it? So here's the challenge to you. Stop borrowing energy from tomorrow. Stop running on fumes and call it a hustle. Stop wearing your caffeine addiction like a badge of honor. Real entrepreneurs optimize, real entrepreneurs adapt, real entrepreneurs win. You can't win if you're crashing at 2 p.m. while your competition is just getting started. Break the cycle. Head to risesuperfoods.com right now and use code PODNA15 for 50% off your first order. That's PODNA15 for 15% off. Try it for 30 days. If you don't feel the difference, if you don't feel sharper, calmer, more focused, more alive, then go back to your 6-a-day cup habit. But I'm telling you, we won't, because once you feel what real energy feels like, you'll never go back. Ditch the addiction, fuel your empire, and rise up. Rise Coffee, energy that builds, not burns.